Oh, that's some good banana bread. I'm your host, Borelstein, and today I'm going to be discussing Joker. I just saw it, cheap as fuck during the day because I, like many of the people in the film, also want to kill the rich and live in, well, not right now, impoverished conditions, but I have before. I'm going to do a little 3 minute review of the film and then I'm just going to ramble forever. So, starting with the sound. Sound design is excellent. Some of the best sound design I've seen in a movie in a long time. Non spoiler example, our main character is in the audience of a show. We hear the sound mixed in a certain way that sounds like you're hearing it from a TV. Then at one point, the character shifts positions in the scene, and the sound design matches what's going on coming to the forefront, making it seem more of a reality. It is excellent. The musical choice for the film is also all but one song. All but one song fits perfectly. There's one song that I disagree with heavily. I'll get into that later on, but otherwise, all the song choices are excellent. 10 out of 10 sound design, 10 out of 10 musical choice, everything. It is perfect. Acting, it's excellent. Every character does a good job. I was really nervous in the beginning of the film because it starts off where like everybody, it just it almost seems like the movie's gonna have comically evil people, but that's not the case. But it starts off a little worrying. If you've seen the trailer, you know what I mean. But I'm not gonna get into spoilers here. The acting is great. Joaquin Phoenix does a phenomenal job. I mean, if anybody is curious about Joaquin Phoenix's acting ability, then they probably haven't ever seen a movie before. He's an excellent actor, but this is probably his best performance ever. It is phenomenal. It is, without getting into spoilers, I can't really say it's. He is a condition in the movie where he laughs, and at first you're trying to figure it out. Eventually, you understand what it is, and then you further understand what it is too, with more context. But you can see so much more than the condition coming out because you spend so much time with the character in the different contexts. It's not just like, oh, I laugh because I have, kind of like a Tourette's. He doesn't just laugh because of that. You understand so much when it's happening and what it means and what's going on. If you have like a working brain or any kind of like social, emotional intelligence, you'll understand. If you don't, it's gonna be a hard movie for you. There's a lot that you need to emotionally understand to get the movie, and I understand that not everybody's at the same level when it comes to that. And so if you're an incel, you might kind of be confused at times in the movie. Yeah, so the cinematography is great. Editing is great. But there's one scene in the beginning where the editing fucked up really bad. I just want to talk about it because the editing is pretty good. The cinematography, some of the shots, and the way the camera moves. There are a few scenes where there's a lot of dance. If you've seen the trailer, the main character likes to dance, and the film has him dance a lot. And there are points where the camera is dancing with him, and it's the way the camera moves. Very well done. It's choreographed. It has to be. It is beautiful. It is some fucking Kino. It is so good. Holy shit. But there's one time the editing is really bad that sticks out like a sore thumb. And this isn't really a spoiler. It's just him going about his everyday life at the beginning of the movie. First 15 minutes or so. He gets off the bus. We have a setting shot from across the street, him getting off the bus and he's walking. Then it cuts and the camera's right behind him and we see this kind of like the sun's going down. It's all very bright. It is a powerful shot. It's really good, but it doesn't give us any information. And then it cuts back, and it's across the street again, and we see him go into a pharmacy. The way I would have done that shot is we just have it on the sidewalk. He gets off the bus. We see him go toward down the street, and then it looks beautiful, right? Because this shot is fucking amazing. There's a lot of amazing shots, but this one is really fucking good. And then cut that we juxtapose the beauty that we see in, you know, the sun betwixt these skyscrapers and everything, cut to, oh, he's just going into a dingy pharmacy, you know? Like, you can't reach the sky, you know? Not unless you have wax wings that are gonna melt. And that kind of gets into some of the themes of the movie. But yeah, that's just one point where the editing is not good. And the reason it's not good is because it goes from like this one color scheme to a completely other one. It goes from blue, dark, shitty city colors to big yellow lights, and it just looks beautiful, to shitty colors again. Now maybe, I mean, you could argue with me about, you know, is that good or is that bad? I think it's just fucking bad, because you could have started off good and then just ended on the bad one, rather than like, what it feels like is that they had this really good shot, but they wanted to get in the movie, but they had to like kind of fuck up the editing to make it work. And it's a good shot. I'm glad it's in the movie, but it just seemed like a strange editing choice. Like, normally you don't go back to setting shots like that. You either end on them or you start on them, but you don't go back and forth between them. It just seemed kind of like somebody just didn't know what decision to make. But otherwise, yeah, film work, like 10 out of the film, the way the camera moves and everything, 10 out of 10. Editing, it's really good too. That one time kind of makes it drop down. This is like a straight 10 though. Acting's 10. All the characters are great. Not that they're good people, but they're well acted. The sound, it's just gets straight 10s. I mean, this is pretty much movie of the year. And if you don't agree, you probably make over $100,000. And that's gonna get into my discussion of the movie now, in that one's appreciation of Joker is directly correlated with how much money they make a year. If you make over like 60K a year, you'll appreciate the movie, but you won't agree with the main character. If you are, you know, a one percenter, then the movie probably fucking horrifies you. And if you make below $30,000 a year, like myself, you want to be the Joker. We all want to be the Joker, because, you know, those motherfuckers get what they deserve. Now that's that's not a spoiler for the movie. I mean, if you're watching at this point, then yeah, you're in for spoilers. So the main character is somebody who has a history of abuse. That's pretty obvious, and he has a degree of mental disability. He's not retarded, and he is smart at times, but he has obviously a condition that holds him back, where he kind of uncontrollably laughs. And this is most prominent in a scene where you would think that he would be crying and he's laughing. I think it's the first scene with his caseworker. I think that's it. And it seems like he wants to cry, but he's laughing. And you kind of think, oh, when he's laughing, he's really crying. But that's not the case. He just laughs when he has like basically too much anxiety is what really happens. Laughter is kind of like the nervous tick that he has. So I mean, it could be that he's crying on the inside, that he's like doing whatever, you know, it can be anything. But he has this condition, or so we're led to believe. So the movie has a lot of meat to it. This will be a movie that will be dissected by internet autists such as myself for a very long time. No offense to any actual autists out there. I mean, the movie is in some ways directly about that kind of culture. If you spend any time on 4chan anyway. But, oh man, it's hard to really pin down a specific moment in the film where that kind of highlights the nature of the film. I think the beginning is the best place. You know, if you've seen the trailer, the main character gets beat up by some kids and they steal his money. And you don't see that in the trailer, but that's the important part. And in the beginning of the film, you learn that there's like a garbage strike, which I think actually happened. Gotham City is just a placeholder for New York, obviously, right? I mean, or Chicago, I think maybe. I forget which one. It depends. It depends which Batman universe you're using, because sometimes it's New York when the Nolan verse, but sometimes it's like Chicago or some other shithole place. But yeah, there's a garbage strike. Obviously, economic times are not good. That is very much in the periphery of the film the whole while as we follow this one person who is suffering in this bad economic system. And to express the theme of the movie is in the beginning scene or the second scene where he meets with this case manager, and she says, they kind of have this back and forth where like, oh, you never listen to me, and she's like, and it's kind of funny because he's not listening because she has to give him the bad news that she can't provide him services anymore because her program is being cut because of budget concerns, and they're not going to be able to help them, which is, this actually happened in America. The government defunded all mental health institutions under JFK with the idea that they were going to then fund small community group homes and things like that for them to kind of reintegrate back into society. But what happened? JFK got killed. LGBT or LBJ, yeah, Lyndon B. Johnson takes office, passes the Civil Rights Act. Then what was it, Reagan? No, Nixon, right? Yeah. Yeah, then Nixon comes in office, I think. And anyway, but long story short, the money for the development of mental health institutions in America never manifested. They were left basically to die in the streets. And if you're on the streets and you have mental illnesses and you can't get help, guess where you go next? That's right. You go to jail or prison, depending on the severity of your crime. But there's a really good curve, a graph, if you ever take any like crime class or anything like that in college, or pretty much you spend 5 seconds reading about it, there's a big graph of like the amount of people in mental health institutions goes down, tapers off at the 90s, there's barely anybody there, and then the amount of like people in prisons goes right up. The part of the explosion of the prison population is directly correlated with the movement of mentally ill people from mental health institutions to the streets. I mean, the problem didn't go away. We just decided to deal with it in a more economically inefficient means. And that's right where this movie takes place, during that era, where they're defunding public programs. You have these incredibly rich people in the film who mock the poor, who say that they're jokers and that they don't make something of their lives. And then they cut the programs for these people and then act surprised when there's lunatics on their shows that kill them. I mean, you get exactly what you deserve. That's what kind of what the message of the movie is. And if you're a rich, elite one percenter, just, don't be a greedy asshole if you want to survive the revolution. That's really all you have to do. You just have to have a tiny little bit of heart. But getting back into the film. So the big kind of no going back moment for the main character is he's given a gun. He goes on the subway. There's a woman that's being harassed by two business suit guys. And then they start kicking the main character. And it's like, oh, this is happening again. He's getting kicked by these assholes. He was getting beat up by those kids. He got robbed by the kids. But he's not going to get robbed by the businessman. No, this is more degrading. They have a higher status. They're drunk. They can kind of do whatever the hell they want. Well, no. He's got a gun. He blows those fuckers away. And he chases the last guy down and he blows him away. And I say, fuck them. Fuck every single one of them. I've met a lot of people like that. And fuck them. They literally have less empathy for other people. And obviously those people aren't really part of the problem in the society. They're just kind of agents of the problem. I mean, the real problem is the Thomas Wayne character, who's a Bruce Wayne's dad, Batman's dad. And I wasn't sure how much in the movie they were going to deal with that, but they go full into it. This is a total like Joker, Batman / like intro story, and it's fucking great. But yeah, so a lot of the movie is then trying to like, who killed these cops, or who killed these businessmen, and then it kind of sparks this very labor anti-rich revolution. But the fires of that revolution are stoked by Thomas Wayne. It's really important to remember that in the film, is that Joker character kills 3 businessmen. Thomas Wayne then goes on, because guess what? They were like family to him. They were people that worked for Wayne Enterprises. And he says that they were all good kids. And he says that anybody who would kill them or whatever, like, they were jealous, and that they're just mad because they didn't make any things of their lives, and that people who are like that are jokers, basically. So you already have this, 1% elite person, and he's going to run for mayor. The person who is creating the problem in this society, who's contributing to, the excess of income inequality that is causing the government to have to defund programs, is going to run for mayor and then make everything better. I don't think we need somebody who makes all their money on labor exploitation to give us a solution. Everybody on the streets knows the solution. You got to pay your fair share. You don't need more than $10 million to live a comfortable life. You don't even need more than $100,000 to live a comfortable life. And if you can't live within that means, how are you, like, maybe we don't need you, If you really think your job as a CEO is that hard to do in a planet with 7 billion people that are all clamoring for the same position that you have, well, then you're full of shit. And I mean, obviously, it goes without saying, but like, I 100% agree with the politics of the movie. Now, the movie remains apolitical. It rides a line by both the admission of the main character, but then also only focusing on a character in the backdrop of this kind of dystopic hell, essentially, which is what we're living in. There are states in the United States that refuse literal free money from the federal government to expand their Medicaid programs because they don't want, because it hurts their Republican ideals. What do you think's more important? The ideals of your bullshit party or the lives of the citizens in your state? Because by refusing Medicare and Medicaid expansion in your state, you are saying to every poor person who's suffering with any health issue that I would rather have you die than sacrifice my ideals. But they don't get a vote. The rich person with tons of fucking money is deciding who gets to live or die. And that happens in America to this day. Today, I mean, only a few years ago, there was what? That happened in Wisconsin. Scott Walker refused an expansion of Medicare and Medicaid. So yeah, go fuck him. Go fuck yourself, buddy. You don't ever have to worry about healthcare issues, and I have to. And I'm poor. I don't choose to be like this. I've made a lot out of my life, given where I've come from. The reason I'm saying all this is because this is all important backstory information for this movie. Because the movie is so deeply ingrained in America's own history of scapegoating people with mental illness, about leaving people to die, about cutting government programs that are helping people, all because austerity, bullshit values. It all comes down to fucking money. It doesn't really come down to that in the movie. I mean, when he loses his job and he's no longer able to get his medication, then he goes off the deep end. So there's this great irony in a government in the movie that engages in austerity policies, cutting government spending, cutting programs, privatizing programs and things like that, is then the victim of the people that it lets die. The Joker has been basically abandoned for all help. He's not going to be able to get any medication. I mean, he's not called the Joker until the end of the movie, but his real name is Dumb, is Happy, and he doesn't like it, and I would respect him by calling him the Joker. He's left to die. The only recourse he has is to basically violently lash out. Now, he doesn't violently lash out indiscriminately. He's attacked. He defends himself. He attacks people who are outright malicious and evil. There's one kill in the movie that you could argue is not okay, but all the other ones seem pretty justified. You fuck them all. As the Joker says, you get what you deserve. But there's a lot of meat to go through the movie. There's a lot of twists. There's a lot of, you think one thing, and then something else happens. And I really don't want to even get into any of them, because it's better seen than talked about. I just kind of wanted to talk about the big themes, about not income inequality, but societal decay but it attributes a source. The source is that there's people are struggling to survive in the economy while there are people with so much money that if only they were able to give a little bit more, then society would be a lot better. But because of the influence that money has, the people that have the money give less proportional of their total wealth than all the small people combined, or each, or any small person. That analysis doesn't make sense otherwise, I don't think. So yeah, the film betwixt itself very historically between, austerity policies, but then it also really relevant to today, because in the same way that the film is in the era when those things started happening back in the 80s, we are living in the pain of that today. And there's a call out to that in the film. Oh fuck, I forgot it. There's a part where it says something about modern. Oh yeah, uh, uh, in Charlie Chaplin, there's this part of the movie. This is when the movie gets fully political. I mean, it gets political a lot, but it is so fucking good. So, Joker's going to visit Thomas Wayne, and he's at this big movie showing of Charlie Chaplin, and it says Modern Times. And I cannot think of anything that gets to the heart of the modern issue in America of wealth inequality, where outside this immaculate theater where one percenters are watching a movie from the fucking 20s or whatever, you have protesters who are protesting the wealth inequality and the issue that it's creating their society. And then on the inside, you have people who aren't even aware that any of this bullshit's going on and they don't care at all. And then what they're playing is something called Modern Times. You have this bourgeois elite who are distracted by their own opulence to give a shit about the peasants outside who are dying in the streets because they've made the problem and they can't actually stomach to face it. And rather than ever face it, they scapegoat the individuals who pop up, who bubble up of the surface of this horrible system, and then say, look, that person was bad. Oh, that person was bad. But there comes a point when everybody bubbles up, everybody boils over, all the resentment peaks, and riot happens. And that's how the film ends. It's a big old riot, and then the Joker does a little dance, and that's how the film should have ended. It actually ends with him in an insane asylum, which I thought was like too on the nose. There was a perfect shot for the film to end on, and then they just had to drag it out even more. I was like, fuck off. But there's a lot of twists in the film. I guess I kind of want to talk about those too, because I thought that was an aspect that was done well, but wasn't surprising, and I kind of wished a lot more was left to the imagination. So the first twist is that, at least I think it's the first twist that's revealed, I think anyway, that there's a black girl and her little kid, and Joker basically convinces himself that they're in some kind of relationship. And then much later on in the film, you find out that he imagined the whole thing, that he never actually hung out with her at all. And it's really good. It's a good execution of that twist, and it ties in with his relationship with his mother and the delusions that she had. And the biggest twist in the film is a double twist. So this one you don't want to spoil it for you. If you somehow have gotten to this point and you haven't seen the movie, go fucking watch the movie. Don't let it be ruined for you. But the mother character of the Joker believes that Thomas Wayne is her son's dad. Now, supposedly she worked for them, 30 years ago. So Joker's about 30 or something like that. And it would make a lot of sense, right? You kind of push out the nanny or the nurse or the house aide or whoever after you knock her up. It makes a lot of sense. And Joker tries to follow this up because first he believes that he is the dad, and then that would mean Batman and him are related. That would be fucking awesome, right? Well, eventually he goes to the the mental health institution where his mom was, because he gets some information, and he goes there, and the guy comes up and he tells him, yeah, she was in here for delusions and narcissism, blah blah blah. And then he's like, oh yeah, but she's your mom. And then he's like, oh, I can't give you this. She's gotta come down here and sign off on it, but I can't give it to you. You understand, right? And he's fucking lying. You know that he was actually adopted and that he's not related to Thomas Wayne and he's not even related to his own mom. And I wish it kind of ended there. I wish there was a little bit of ambiguity, but the movie, I mean, I think the way they do this, the way they do the revelation here is really good. I just wish there was more ambiguity about it. But there's no ambiguity. He steals the files from the clerk, goes and reads them, and finds out that his mom, well, the audience finds out. Maybe he doesn't interpret it that way, but the audience finds out that his mom and his mom's boyfriend were abusive to him, that he was chained to a radiator, that he was adopted. And basically, she's just been the worst person ever in the world. She's just super negligent, and all those kinds of things. So, and the way they do it is like she's in the room with the person talking to her in this insane asylum or whatever, and then Joker's in the corner as if he's like listening to it because he's like reading the different material. And so they do it in a really effective cinematic way. I just kind of wish there was like a little bit of ambiguity, but there's none. The film has no ambiguity. It's very like this, like nothing is going to be left in mystery. You're going to know all the horrible details. You're going to know the exact circumstances that led this person to be who they are and basically do what they do, which for the whole film feels like is unintentional. When he kills the three businessmen, it's unintentional. When he gets the cops killed on the subway or in critical condition or whatever, it's unintentional, sort of. I mean, if the cops are questioning him, they don't need to chase him like that. Like, it's kind of retarded. It's the own cops' fault. They put themselves in the line of danger, and then they pulled their guns out for no fucking reason too. And then they went on a train full of rioters. Like, cops are fucking dumb in this movie. Oh, also the cops got his mom killed too. Essentially, I mean, he kills his mom, but the cops put his mom in critical condition, and then they don't even give a shit. They're just like, oh, she got hysterical. I couldn't understand why a woman with history of mental health issues, when asked about her son and all this other stuff, would get hysterical. An old frail woman. I don't. Fuck those pigs. They deserve to die. Fuck them. You know what? You get what you deserve. Joker's absolutely correct. I 100% support Joker for president. Fuck them all. Fuck every single one of those motherfuckers in this movie. And fuck anybody that, is living any kind of life like that today. Fuck them. Pieces of shit. You're fucking taking our society and turning it to fucking dog shit because you want some more money and you want to be stupid and you want to be uneducated and you don't want to engage empathetically with other people. I say, fuck ya. You're a piece of shit. Man, it's a great movie. This is probably easily movie of the year. It really it cuts perfectly in terms of getting at the zeitgeist. It really resonates, I think, really well with what's going on. And if you can't see that, I think you're too stupid or you're too high up in your ivory tower. You got to get on the ground and see how the peasants live, I think, to really understand. Because I mean, these are things I see every day. People losing out on healthcare, not able to get the help that they need, and they want the help, but they can't get it. And you wonder why you have so many problems. I mean, this is something Republicans talk about all the fucking time. Like it's a mental health issue, but where the fuck are the mental health services then, asshole? They never, increase social spending at all, pretty much on anything. They're just huge piles of shit. Fuck them. Fuck everybody. Movie's about a 10 out of 10, and I hope the Joker shoots you too. Fuck him.